Good evening, Jeopardy fans, and we are live here on hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel, presented by thejeopardyfan.com. Once again, and as always, I am Andy Saunders, and I will be moderating tonight's discussion. So, as always, we've got the YouTube chat. If you've got a comment there, you can leave a comment there for us. If I like it, I'll read it out. We've also got the hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel on Twitter. Again, if you leave a comment there and I like it, I take a look at that during the show. And if I like it, I'll read it out to the panel. Without any further ado, we've got quite a bit to talk about this week. So let's introduce tonight's panel. First up, returning to hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel. Welcome back to one of our gold level Patreon supporters, Matt Carberry. Thanks for joining us again. How are you doing?
Great, and thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. And our second panelist from last Monday's game, Anupama Srirangan. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks for inviting me.
And our third panelist from Wednesday's game, the second place going into final in the only game last week that Austin did not have a runaway, Pasha Paterson. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, my first question, this has kind of been one that's been standing the last few weeks just because you've had such a long wait from your taping back in April. How difficult was it waiting between April and the end of September to see your episodes? Because that was almost like 5 months.
It was it was almost exactly 5 months, and it was funny. I was joking around with some folks at work because we do a few like government activities and things, and I have top secret clearance. And I was telling some folks on my team, it's like, I've seen things for work that I can't talk about. This is harder. This is way harder. It's like, I can take all of these work secrets to the grave, but Jeopardy, oh my God, I must tell someone. I found myself, walking around the house with, my wife was off doing exercise classes, my kids were in school, and I walked upstairs and was feeding the cat. It was like, Oliver, I have to tell you, I didn't win. I have to tell someone I didn't win.
To be honest, I told a couple of people. Obviously, my sisters were there. So my sisters, their husbands, my nephews and nieces, they kind of knew that I didn't do well, but we didn't know the exact result, except for the two who were in the studio. And then funnily, in my office, from time to time, we started doing trivia at the end of our daily stand-up meetings. I work in IT, and we have Scrum. So I was getting most of the answers, so people didn't know what was up with me. And then one person even said, you should go on Jeopardy. So I had to kind of look down and not make eye contact with anybody just in case I blurted out. So that was funny. And then before the end of before the end of July, I had gone to lunch with somebody who I'm very close to in the office, a guy who's sort of my counterpart. So he was like, what's up with you and trivia and everything? So I said, I just like trivia, and I had said something about he always got my name wrong. So I said, somebody famous really learned my name. And if they could do it, you could do it. So he kind of got it out of me, like who it was, right? So I said, it's a person on TV, but I'm not going to tell you what happened. I'm going to be on Jeopardy, right? So I didn't really share the result, but I told maybe about 4 or 5 people. So yeah.
There were some really crafty techniques that some people were trying to use to get information out. I know. The best tactic I saw was we had our finance guy at work was leaving to start his own company, and he was trying to get everything wrapped up. And he came by my desk and said, well, I'm trying to get everything sealed up, so, to hand off to the new folks. And I just want to make sure, just to get everything worked out for tax purposes, could you just let us know how much you won so we could work it into the tax stuff? And I was like, no.
And then in September, of course, when the long weekend came up, and then also now, we are in the middle of a 9-day festival. It just finished for Hindus. So I had seen a lot of people during the festival, but I didn't say anything. And then bang, Monday, I put something on Facebook. Today I'm going to be on Jeopardy. So people were like, I saw you yesterday. You didn't say anything. So I was like, aha, it worked.
What is Diwali?
No, what is Navratri?
Well, there goes another 800 or whatever.
Stay planned.
So, moving on a little bit, I know that you alluded to this a little bit on Twitter, Pasha, and I know Anupama, you saw this from kind of off stage. What exactly happened during Monday's Final Jeopardy with the response screens? Because there were a lot of people that were being like, oh, there's some big conspiracy. The response screens were the same. Oh, my God. What happened? It sounds like there's a story there. So
I was shocked when that showed up in the final edit because I was sure as big as the drama was in the studio that day, I was sure they were going to edit it out. But yeah, when they in the commercial break, everybody writes their wagers, and they actually have one of the third-party auditors come by and write down on the clipboard what everybody's wager is going to be. And then they got into Final Jeopardy, and they showed Dennis's screen and read out the answer. And then, and your wager was 4,000. And you could see the color just sort of drain out of Dennis's face, like, what? That's not my wager.
Yeah.
And one of the judges from the table jumped up and started waving around. It's like, stop the show. And so the displays on the lecterns were reversed. And for whatever reason in the final edit, they didn't get Dennis's response onto his screen. So they showed Ivan's response on both screens, but they showed the wagers on the correct screens. And as they panned back after Final Jeopardy, you could see Dennis's handwriting on his lectern, but for whatever reason, they didn't put it in the final edit.
Yeah. And by that time, I was sitting on the side and writing my response on a piece of paper. So I was like, okay, let's wait for the final answer. And of course, I knew the answer. Right? It was an easy question. And then Ivan was very upset that he didn't wager correctly. He sat for the second game with us, and he was really upset. He went very quiet. And I thought it was funny that it showed up as 4,000 when I knew Dennis had won, right? So it was kind of strange.
But that's why in the final edit, neither Dennis nor Ivan looked surprised by the result. Dennis was just kind of tired, and because he had just had the biggest adrenaline rush of his life. That's not my wager. What's going on?
Which was edited out, right? Yeah.
And as soon as it was revealed, Ivan knew he had already lost, and so by the time they finally struggled through the re-recording of Alex talking to Ivan about his response, he had already known for minutes that he had just lost the game, and he just had to stand there and take it. It was awful, but
kind of quiet.
But yeah, that's the whole sordid backstory of the weird edit on Monday.
What was that like for you as kind of a viewer, Matt, watching that game where it's wait a second, those are the same responses?
Yeah, it definitely was a little bit. I honestly didn't notice it at first, but yeah, when it was pointed out to me on Twitter a little bit later, it came back, and I'm like, oh wow, that's interesting. Now it's good to know why.
Yeah,
I never suspected any wrongdoing or chicanery on the part of the show, because there's so many layers of standards, practices, lawyers that are in place to prevent any sort of thing. So we also kind of saw, alluding back to that, I believe it was the Thursday Final Jeopardy, when some people were a little surprised that Austin, being from New York, got a clue that referenced New York. And of course, people thinking that was conspiracy there. And it's like, no, sometimes you get the luck of the draw, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes there are these things. There are clues that are right in people's alleys. In a season of 230 episodes, it's gonna happen from time to time.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing that we definitely saw, there were definitely a couple of big stories this past week. One positive, one not so much. And so, first of all, I kind of you definitely seemed very nervous up there on stage, Anupama. And if you'd like to, I'd like you to kind of talk about those nerves a little bit, and kind of how obviously it was, the experience of being up on stage was unexpected, or at least, you weren't quite expecting that. So if you kind of want to talk about that a little bit, because I'm pretty sure you're not the first person to have, had, extreme nerves on stage, and I'm pretty sure you won't be the last either. So I'm really curious to know what that feels like.
Thanks. It was kind of almost a surreal experience being on that stage when they started the game. So at that point, I thought, okay, I'm here, so I'm gonna do well, whatever. And then when my buzzer, when I was hitting the buzzer, of course, he wasn't calling my name, so I kind of felt, okay, yeah, I'm playing with someone now, right? And I don't know whether I had mentioned this before. The Monday game was the only one that I did not want. When I got on the bus in the morning, I was really hoping that they won't call me to be on the Monday game, because I really wanted to kind of absorb what's going on with the studio and how it's being taped, etc., etc. But unfortunately, you don't have a choice, right? So, and Ivan and Dennis were really nice. Even when I went into negative, they were like, you're going to work on this, you're going to work on this, and all of that. But I just went, completely, into another zone, and I got into a bad zone, and I couldn't get out of it somehow. It was also nice seeing all the interviews and everything that was going on in the game later, because for the life of me, I could not remember what Ivan talked about. I was trying to think what happened during the game. I didn't remember many of the questions. I didn't remember all the categories when I was trying to write them down. So obviously, I wasn't really myself during the show. But I still had a great time. I still felt, okay, I was on TV, and Alex and I had a nice conversation. And I still felt like, I mean, I could have been there for Final Jeopardy, but it wasn't the worst performance, so it was okay.
Just watching the game back, I was sitting in my living room. It's like, I want to just reach through the screen and just give her a hug. It's like, oh, it's like all over again. Like, no.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, obviously, I was very upset when I couldn't be there for Final Jeopardy. I was crying and stuff, but it wasn't that bad and I didn't tell anybody how badly I had done, whatever. And when I saw the show, because of the way it was edited, and when I remembered it, all I remembered were my bad answers. I wanted to say bicep, and I ended up saying hamstring. And I was thinking, is it? What show is it? Who cares whether it's CSI or NCIS, whatever. I didn't even remember the category, right? So I was kind of thinking about all of those. And then the final version, I did have a few questions right. So I had completely blocked those out. So it was nice to see that I got a few answers right here and there. So it wasn't too bad. And a lot of people didn't see it because it was in the middle of the day. So it was fine.
Well, I mean, yes, I guess in your local area, yes, it does air at 3:30 in the afternoon in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use this as a segue into my next kind of discussion panel or question, and a new segment I've kind of been doing on Jeopardy Live Panel this season. I've called it "See You Again," and I pose something for the panel, and I ask whether you want to see it again. And I'm pretty sure that as a panel we'll be unanimous with this one. But basically, I have called this media shaming of incorrect responses on Jeopardy. And unfortunately, the media tends to, cover Jeopardy every time somebody gives an incorrect response to a sports question.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a panel, how would we like to see the media cover, Jeopardy in the future, especially when it comes to an unfortunate situation like yours in Anupama, when you had said the Colorado Rockies in your, you got frazzled up, you rang in for the Marcus Allen clue and got frazzled. And you mentioned to me beforehand, you said that you were thinking the Denver Broncos, and Colorado Rockies came out. And so kind of as a panel, how do we feel about, or how would we like to see the media cover Jeopardy in the future?
Wow.
Actually, you know what? It was not too bad. I know Deadspin had something in there, and then ESPN picked it up too. And apparently, a friend of mine was on a United flight the following day, and she texted me as soon as she landed. I saw you on TV. You're famous. So I said, I'm sure it was the NFL clue. And she was like, yes. So there was no need for them to show a replay of it on a plane, right? But I kind of felt, the itself was not that great. It's not as though they had enough clues for somebody even to figure it out. And then, everybody goofed up or whatever. And we got only 3 out of the 5 questions. So it wasn't as though, everybody got everything wrong. And I was the only one who rang in, right? For that, really bad question. With the really bad answer. So I think, Andy, you had mentioned this before. If it is something about even current literature or something, that's arcane, and somebody gets it wrong, nobody makes any remarks about it. But once you get something that's like a media darling, like NFL or NBA or something, I think people jump on, okay, here's the reason I can beat up on this really smart person or whatever, right? So I mean, how should they cover it? Of course, they should cover everything in a balanced manner instead of just paying attention when somebody makes a mistake. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I remember, I don't know whether the show aired a couple of weeks ago or maybe it was from 2 or 3 months ago, because there have been a lot of reruns. There was a tennis category, and of course, one person ran the entire category, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't see anything about that anywhere, right? I mean, he got the current players as well as Navratilova, right? Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was no coverage. So if there is some balance about, hey, this was really popular yesterday and it went well or whatever, that would be nice to see too, instead of, oh, this was horrible and somebody should be laughed at or whatever.
Yeah, and it's always a temptation to pick on somebody who doesn't know something that a lot of other people know. And I think the one response was kind of singled out because it was wrong, but there are also 2 other people on the stage who didn't even try to ring in on any of those clues. And it's like, and I think we were talking before the games started, or after that response and that stuff, it's like everybody on that stage knew a sport, but nobody knew football.
Yeah. Right. And there was one portion of my interview at the very end, we were joking and which they edited out, thankfully. Alex had said something about when he talks to Roger Federer, he'll ask him whether he recognizes Anupama or something. So I said, yeah, ask him for tickets too, right? So, so in the intro to Double Jeopardy, Alex had even said, tennis tickets, yes, but no NFL tickets for this bunch, right? So that was funny. All of us laughed, So I mean, it was kind of not so bad in the studio, but then when it aired with, just that huge big mistake, I think it got a lot of airtime everywhere. So
I think
anyway,
just running a story on Tuesday, yeah, sure, everybody have a laugh at the Jeopardy nerds who don't know the NFL, great. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it was like, okay, guys, we get it, right? There was somebody who was posting something about it Friday night, and I was like, I posted a tweet back of the an animation from Frozen, with Elsa going, "Let it go, just let it go," and they actually deleted their tweet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Thank you, Pasha. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, definitely frustrating, because I think at the time I was kind of immersed in the game, and then I started seeing those tweets come in, and I'm like, oh, I should have seen this coming. Just because it happens every time. And also, the thought I have is with the average NFL player, if you put him on that Jeopardy stage, would he know the periodic table? Would he know the classics of British literature? And he wouldn't. And I don't think they'd be shamed quite so nearly, or covered in such a manner as Anupama was, or whoever. I can't remember the contestant's name, but the Auburn, Alabama screw up. I think it was about a year ago. In fact, I can give another piece of evidence on this point. While we were talking, I recalled when Aaron Rodgers was on Celebrity Jeopardy a little over 2 years ago, and he missed a daily double about the company that Steve Wozniak co-founded. So I just Googled that quickly. I found one reference about that, and a couple of others noting the fact that he might have sworn after he missed that clip. So it's definitely kind of it's unbalanced, but I understand. I don't like the fact that it drives ratings there and page views, but I do kind of understand it, unfortunately. And what equally frustrates me as well is some random people on Twitter, and I think Andy, you and I both engaged with some of them, who who questioned when Alex said it was the Los Angeles Raiders, and people saying that it was Oakland, and I had to go check that myself, and I'm like, actually, no, they were not the Oakland Raiders at the time Marcus Allen played. So it's right, when these the viewers in the audience are trying to throw shade at the players, and doing so in a manner that easily invites them to have shade thrown back at them, and it's not something that Andy or I probably sure would like to do, but it's necessary if we're gonna keep the level of discourse about this game where we want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the Rockies official Twitter account actually releasing the pictures of the like media intern or whatever he is, named Marcus Allen, that's actually works for the Rockies. That was awesome. Yeah, it's some guy that's been working for the Rockies for like a few years, and they showed him at the stadium with his name badge, like, "Hi, I'm Marcus Allen, and I work for the Colorado Rockies." It was like, yeah.
I missed that. I wish I had seen that. That would have made me feel better.
Yeah, Jeopardy even chimed in. The Jeopardy Twitter account actually came out of the woodwork and interacted with the Rockies a little bit last week over that one. Because they were trying to be like, well, maybe maybe Anupama can get half credit here, and and Jeopardy was like, well, you're Marcus Allen, still about 12,000 rushing yards short. So,
but it is interesting that the difference that it makes when it's a sports category, because in my game, watching it back, especially, also in the 5 months between the taping and the game, it's some of the stuff that from my game has just kind of been burning in my head. It's like my miss in the countries with only A, where I rang in on the genocide question. I was like, oh, obviously this stuff has been in the news. It's all over this. It's like, what is Armenia? I'm an idiot. That was at least as dumb, if not.
No.
I was as soon as it was out of my mouth, I was like, what did I just say? But it's not the NFL, so that just kind of washed off the public psyche, and I just got away with it.
Yeah, but you were right. I mean, it was current news, right? I mean, Armenia was in the news that week, and that's why you said it. But then it was Rwanda, right? So I struggle with that too, remembering the category, right? So, I mean, okay, I know the answer, but does it fit into the category? That was like a big thing with the lights and everything. So. But you know what? Austin didn't get Canada, so
that's true.
Better about that.
So, that was so far the only daily double he's missed, and I definitely enjoyed kind of Alex's snark back his way, being like, "Look north," and I quite enjoyed that. One comment on the YouTube chat from Jason Sterlaki being all he wants to say is that he'd like me to tell Pasha and Anupama that he's greatly enjoying them, the both of you on this panel tonight. So
Hey,
Thank you,
Jason. Big
Jason.
fan.
Thank
Good
you.
luck in the TOC. Retro luck, I guess, since that's taped now.
I have to step up my game, apparently.
So,
Yeah, retro, good luck.
yes, retro good luck for sure, Jason.
Mhm.
So my next question, one that I ask often here on Jeopardy Live Panel, how different is it watching Jeopardy now compared to watching Jeopardy from before you taped your appearance?
Well, at least for me, like every game since my appearance has been Austin. At least over the summer, it was just like, wow, this is a little weird. Like I know what those people are going through now. It's you can see people who are just like frozen on the stage versus actually getting into the game. So
Yeah, to be honest, I've had trouble watching all the games every single day. I usually tape the game during the day, of course, because I'm at work, and I always watch it at dinner. I always watch in front of the TV, eat in front of the TV. So I have a few shows that I haven't watched. I have more than 20 episodes that I haven't watched. But like I said in one of the Facebook chats, I have more empathy for people who go on Mondays, especially the new person, right? Not the returning champion, or like if I see a California person on Mondays, then I know that person is a backup or like an alternate. So they've probably been in the studio. So the new person from a different part of the country, I have more empathy for them. I have empathy for people who don't get on the board until the first segment is over. And definitely people who don't make it to Final Jeopardy. I want to give them a hug.
like, I feel you, man. Yeah, it was funny too because I had actually, for our contestant interview stuff, I filled out the card and everything, but I actually, the story that I told about my job and everything, I was like, when we were in the briefing before the games, they were like, so which of these 5 stories do you want us to tell, to talk about with Alex? I was like, I'm going to be a complete dork and I want to talk about my job. And Karina gave me this look like, are you serious? Really? You're talking to Alex Trebek on national television and you want to talk about work? I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy. But we recorded the game, and then the whole summer I'm like, oh my god, did I talk about one of the projects I wasn't supposed to mention? I'm pretty sure everything I talked about was on the website, but oh crap, do I need to call our security chief? Do I need to do? And I was like sweating, and so every game I watched over the summer, I was just like sweating bullets during the interviews because I was flashing back to my interview. And I was like, oh, I said too much. But no, that it all worked out, and I still have a job.
So in your case,
I actually thought that was a really good interview, Pasha, talking about the different ways you're doing really good things in the world. I really enjoyed that one.
It's it's neat work, and it lets me work from home, so that's neat. So it's definitely not your typical sort of geek sitting at a desk job. It's my daughter once asked me, as kids do, it was like, Daddy, what do you do at work? And I'm like, well, I teach computers how to catch bad guys. So yeah, that was fun.
So along your lines, Anupama, did you think that did Alex talk about what you thought he'd talk about?
Yes. Of the 3 stories that I had given, I think Laurie or Corina had said, okay, this sounds like the most interesting. And they had marked it as yellow. So I was happy that he brought that up because, I definitely wanted to talk about Roger Federer. So it worked out. And I thought that was like the highlight of my whole show. So I'm like rewatching that section many times.
Nice. So, okay, I've got a question up here on some stuff on the YouTube chat. Jason has said, Matt, I'm enjoying you too. Trevor Mahoney has asked, he said he'd love to hear how much sound editing occurred in last week's game. It seems like the editing team was busy, and I think, Pasha, you can talk to
earned
that.
their money this week.
It sounds like you, being that you were in the audience, you stuck around in the audience, so you probably can talk a little bit more to this one. How disinhibited was Austin when they were taping these games?
By the time they got to the Friday game of last week, he had kind of settled into, being the champ and being just sort of normal, average Goofy. But definitely, like the practice game from the morning was very like cable only. It was they was
deep cable. Safe harbor period.
Yeah, so Glenn, who was hosting the practice game, he was just kind of giving Austin these looks like, and even in the final edits for some of the games that aired, you could tell that you could see his mouth moving, but the final edit audio was just like shh, like, is that a cicada? No, they're just censoring something that the FCC would not approve of. But yeah, he kind of settles in to being just Goofy and not a regulations violation by the third or fourth day.
Well, this is the first time I've ever heard Alex actually on air mention that
they are pretty bad. Actually, I remember as soon as we got in the bus, I think Pasha is the first person that I saw in the lobby, and we both got in the bus, and a few people walked in after that. Austin started swearing as soon as he got in the bus. I mean, like, it wasn't like bad swearing, but like every sentence had like F this or so. I might have trouble on camera, whatever, but he cleaned it up a little bit later.
It was sort of the sort of casual, flippant, absolutely zero forethought swearing that I was like, there's the New Yorker.
Yeah, it was almost like he was either a New Yorker or a British person, so they didn't even care about whatever. But he was funny. He was really nice to get along with. He was making good jokes in the green room and everything. So good champion.
Mm-hmm. So, did you guys have any sort of a viewing party for your episodes?
I did not, for two reasons. First of all, it's at 3:30 in the afternoon, so pretty much everybody I know who's a fan works. And a couple of my friends had said, anyway, we watch it in the evening, why don't you come over and we'll watch it together? So I kind of agreed, but then I was going to stay home and watch it first by myself anyway. So as I mentioned, I was in the middle of maybe during the second half of Jeopardy, the first section, and my neighbor texted me saying, Anna, you're on Jeopardy, I see you. So I was like, oh my God, I didn't even text her because I put it on Facebook and LinkedIn in the morning. And I texted a few people that are not on social media with me. I didn't even text her, right? So I was like, oh, I didn't know you were a fan. You want to come up? I'm here. We can watch together. And she's like, no, I have to get ready to go somewhere, whatever. So we are planning a viewing party for her and like other neighbors. But on that day, no, I just wanted to be by myself in misery. Yeah.
Well, we I was just kind of talking with friends and coworkers and stuff, and the sort of pressure built up. It's like, so when's your viewing party? When do we get to see you win? And I'm sitting there like, oh God, never. How do I, But I kind of caved in and got in touch with one of the local sports bars down in Richmond, and got plans together, invited a whole bunch of people, and we kind of took over the whole place. They put it on the house audio and put it on all the screens. It was really cool. Mm-hmm. And the people who had never really seen the show had came out and were like, "This is a really interesting game." And I'm like, "Yes, it is." And when they revealed all the final responses and that mine was wrong and everything, and there was this throughout the room because at least half the people was like, "Oh, of course he won." What is like, and so that kind of deflated. And I'm sitting there the whole time just sweating, like I didn't win. I don't know what these people are expecting. I hope I'm not going to get tossed out of here for taking over the place and then not winning. But no, it was really fun. We had the whole place, cheering and jeering at the TV. My 6-year-old daughter was going boo every time Austin rang in. So it was fun, and it was a good time.
Yeah, yours was a very thrilling game, right? Because it went down to Final Jeopardy, and he was the only one who had the right answer. That's the only reason he won, right?
Yeah.
So that was a good game to watch in public, I think. So,
well, he had enough, and we, the wagers worked out so that if we had both gotten it, he still would have won. But if the results had been reversed, then we would be living in a very different alternate reality right now. But yeah, he got it, and I just kind of and it was interesting in the post game conversation. Alex had said that had asked us whether the wording of the clue helped us on that Final Jeopardy, because it said this woman's famous, wrote to her famous husband and all that stuff, and he had said that he apparently talked to the writers about adding the word famous to the clue. As an extra tease out, and asked the three of us if it had helped us with the response, and I was like, well, two of us got it wrong, so
yeah, it helped Austin for sure.
What was your post game chat like with Alex?
Oh, he actually started talking about Federer again. And he said some really nice things about, I know you had the buzzer going, but, maybe not your categories today and all of that. So I thought it was really nice. He was being very sweet during the entire time. And the guys piped in and said, of course, she knew many of the answers, but we probably, jumped in first or whatever, which happened in some cases. But, there were a lot of weird categories on Monday, right? So it wasn't as though like my buzzer was the problem or, the others were the problem. Even the ones that I rang in, I made a couple of mistakes. So I just wish, we'd had a little bit more of a practice, like the rehearsals were a little bit longer. And I mentioned that to him. So he was like, yeah, maybe we should do like, instead of just 2 or 3 questions and people running in and out, which was itself very tense during the rehearsals, maybe do like, 15 questions or something like that, so everybody gets a chance to actually work out how the buzzer works and be more confident. It's not just that the buzzer is not working, the confidence. And he said, yeah, that's a good point and everything. So I thought he was extremely nice during the entire show, and also walking around, talking to everybody. I really adored the whole time that I was there. I really adored Alex Trebek the whole time I was there. So
that's great to hear, and I'm really glad that Alex was so supportive for sure, and especially because things didn't go so well. So
actually, at the end of the show, he was going on and on and on about like things didn't work out for you. I was like, okay, can you please edit this? And they did. I was very happy. So I had to stand there with a smile on my face, whatever, before Final Jeopardy. So I'm glad they edited that.
So moving on a little bit, the reactions to Austin online have certainly been polarizing. A lot of people love him, a lot of people hate him, and so I'd like to pose this to the panel. Do you consider Austin a hero or a villain? And if you've got thoughts on this, you can use the hashtag and you can use the YouTube chat. I'm curious to hear what people think of this. To you, is Austin a hero or a villain?
Well, after I could no longer root for Team Me against Austin, I've kind of been on Team Austin the whole time. It's been fun to watch, and every game that he's won since then, and the margin kind of grew, and I was more and more at peace with having lost to a guy who then went on to just absolutely cream the other 2 games. It's like, okay, I'm okay with this. Fine, if I had to miss my shot, it might as well be to this guy. And he's good TV. You love him or hate him. Yeah, he's good television, and he's a great player.
Yeah, I absolutely agree about that, him being a great player, and I think Andy hit on it. I think it was Friday very well when he said that he understood exactly why the coordinators gave Austin the call. Polar, you know, the very fact that we're having this debate about him being so polarizing is a testament to what he has been doing and can do for the show. The ultimate point of contestant selection, and along with the format of the game, is to drive ratings. It's to get eyeballs on those screens across North America. And if however the producers do that while maintaining the G-rated content, I'm all for it. Of course, Austin he pushed that to the brink, but the sound editing team, as has been mentioned, was able to at least meet that challenge.
Well, you know, from the perspective of, well, I mean, I learned this when I interviewed the college championship participants last year, and they made mention that apparently these sound editing guys, they got their practice for Austin during last year's college championship.
I might have to go back and watch that panel and see which contestant they were referring to. One sticks out in my head, but I'm not sure. But so to wrap that up, I'm definitely on. I'm definitely call him a hero, and not just for his persona. That I love the way it comes through, and I love seeing him do well. You know, all due respect to Pasha, of course, taking me out. But it's great to see a champion like this come along every so often. I know there are some detractors of you know, the name Ronnie O'Rourke comes to mind, a champion from back in the early 2000s who absolutely hates sky's the limit. But I think the fact that it's been the double-digit, high single-digit champions have been very few and far between. I think that tells us that Harry Friedman got it right when he made that rule change back in 2003. It was, you know, we had Ken 74 and then David Madden's 19 a year later, but then it was almost a decade before anybody got above 9. So it has added the pizzazz and, you know, ratings drivers to the show without unduly lessening the opportunities for players to compete and become Jeopardy champions.
So what do you think, Anupama, hero or villain?
I would definitely say hero. I've been rooting for him. I thought he was very funny, and also obviously he's very smart, but he's also good TV, because, you know, sometimes even when he knows the answer, he would like kind of take a pause for drama. You know, I mean, it was kind of obvious a couple of times that he knows the answer, so just come out and say it, right? And also, I think he comes across as very personable in spite of like the you know, bleeping and all of that, right? And he hasn't been like obnoxious. He hasn't like looked at the other players like with a scowl or anything like that. So I think he's definitely hero. And I agree with Pasha. If you lose to someone, you want them to go on to win many, many games, so you can say, "Yeah, I lost to a real champion," right? So.
Yeah,
this is what it took.
Yeah, you mentioned particularly Austin being personable and that showing through, and that, you know, that reminded me of another contestant, similar contestant, and also great friend of the panel, Jennifer Morrow, who was very much the same way. Fortunately, Austin has not yet sung anything that would require a warning from the contestant staff, as Jennifer did. Yeah, I believe she sang. I believe it was King Tut. She did the little
oh yeah.
And, as I recall her telling it on J-board during the break, the producer walks over and says, "Can you make a suggestion?" And she says, "Don't sing anything that's not in the public domain." And I was, yeah, that something similar happened again during the college championship. It was Mari Hanley, I believe, she sang a lyric from the song "Cheerleader," and that would immediately, same thing.
At least they didn't bleep out the "Hey, you guys" from the Thursday episode with Emily. That was classic.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, were there any sort of quote unquote Slumdog Millionaire moments in any of the clues you were able to get correct last week? Some weird story behind how you knew something?
I got questions right. I'm trying to remember. The 9 Inch Nails question that got me out of the hole in the first round was just a huge moment, just because I got to say who is 9 Inch Nails on Jeopardy. Like, what are the chances that they would ask a question about this? And being such a huge fan of the band from like way back in high school, to beat everybody to that question was like, yeah, I almost like threw up the horns when I buzzed in. Yeah, and the DEF CON Daily Double was like, I have to get this. I have to get this. I felt, I could see like lights ticking down. They don't even light up the podium for that, but I'm just like, I'm running out of time. I know this word is in here. Yeah.
My Colorado Rockies was kind of similar to that. I don't know, for some reason, I had O.J. Simpson and Marcus Allen together in my head, and for some reason, that's why I thought it was the Broncos, right? And then eventually I said Colorado. So I mean, I had some kind of path going on in my, like a convoluted path that I was following, but the wrong thing came out. Definitely the bicep question is what I regret the most, because I kind of had both of those coming to my mouth and I said the wrong thing, right? So I made a split second, because like I said in one of the Facebook chats too, I teach yoga and I talk about both bicep and hamstring in every single class. Right? And it's a large muscle in the arm, so I should have stuck with bicep instead of hamstring.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And for me playing from the couch, it was that final Jeopardy on Monday. Seeing the picture of the sailor immediately, I was able to get very quickly go down the path they wanted to Coleridge. But the one that sticks in my head was that there was for a very brief time back in my teenage years, about 2 decades ago, I did play Magic the Gathering, and I still have some of the cards. And one of those cards has on it a verse from the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, and that's what originally put in my head that Coleridge was the author of that poem. And I know I tweeted out the picture of that particular card during Monday's at the end of Monday's episode. So that was my kind of weird way to get it for the week.
Nice. So, this question, because I know you've answered this last time you came onto panel, Matt. This one's more for Pasha and Anupama. Everyone kind of, or at least I've found that most people who've been on Jeopardy kind of have that moment or that kind of origin story of how they became a Jeopardy fan. So I ask you guys, how did you guys become Jeopardy fans?
I remember watching the premiere episode in, I guess, '84. I think it was the very first episode, because we used to watch Wheel because it came on at 7, and my mom and my grandmother who lived with us watched the show, and then Jeopardy was added afterwards. It's like, oh well, this looks neat. And I remember even as a little kid watching the screen and watching the game play out. And I was like, this is a bunch of really smart people having a lot of fun. I want to be one of those smart people having fun. And it drove like everything. Like I joined the Quiz Bowl team in my high school. I did quiz tournaments and all this stuff. And as soon as they started doing the online test, I was like, all right, I'll do that. So it's been from the beginning. I was like, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I've always been a trivia buff. Growing up in India, my sisters and I were always part of either the college quiz team, or we used to go to like city quizzes together. And when I came to the U.S. in 1991, my one of my sisters and I shared an apartment for a short while, and that was our evening routine. We would watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. The first champion that I remember from '91 is Leszek Pavlovich. I don't know how to
Yep.
correctly say his name.
Yep. You got it right.
When he came back on in the Ultimate Tournament of Champions, that was like such a huge moment for me. I took a picture of the TV and everything. I think it was, being new to the country, I still got a lot of questions right during the game. So that kind of made me feel a little bit more confident about, okay, I do know some stuff, right? Instead of like, okay, I'm from a different place and whether I would be able to interact with people here, whatever, right? So I think Jeopardy was a big confidence builder for me that we actually got questions right during the show, and people were like making lots of money for knowing those same things. And from then on, I never thought about going on the show, or at least it was in the back of my mind. I didn't do anything about it until the online tests started.
Yeah.
In like, I want to say maybe 2005, or I think that's the first time that I wrote the online test, or maybe 2007, not sure. So it's always been like, I mean, watching Jeopardy every day, taping it if it comes on during the day. That's been part of my routine. And anybody who comes to my house, like who's visiting, whatever, if my parents are visiting, my dad knows that, like, that's what we do when we watch, when we eat dinner, right? So that's like a huge part of like, our evening routine. And same thing with my siblings, like when we visit each other, we watch Jeopardy, so it's been, that's one of the reasons I was kind of very disappointed that I can never go back on it again after waiting for such a long time. But it's good. It's good memories.
So what else did you do when you went out to Culver City?
I got there a couple days early, so I went to Santa Monica Pier one day. I do have a very good friend in LA, but I didn't want the pressure of like hanging out the previous day, whatever. So I was just there by myself. And then I had planned on being there for 2 days because they had asked us to keep Tuesday and Wednesday free. But of course, I lost during the first game of Tuesday. So we ended up staying the entire day watching all the other games. At first I thought like I wouldn't want to, but then like I didn't want to leave. I wanted to see all the other games because I'd gotten to know all the people in the green room, right? And then the next day it was just one sister of mine and I. So we went up to Santa Barbara, did a huge drive on the Pacific Coast Highway and everything. So that was super fun. And then we both came back and took the red-eye flight back to the East and the Midwest. So
nice. And you, Pasha?
Yeah, I actually flew in late Sunday afternoon. I had my first audition for Jeopardy was in, I think, 2011 or 2012. It was up in DC. I live less than 2 hours away down the road, so I thought, oh, I don't need to go up there for the extra day. I'll just drive up that morning. And I was so sleep deprived, I completely bombed that audition. And so I had that kind of in the back of my mind. It's like, I'm going to fly in a whole day early and give myself time to just relax and, chill. So I got there Sunday, spent all day Monday just kind of kicking around LA. I actually walked from Culver City all the way to Santa Monica. Some folks that I knew who lived in LA was like, you did what? You walked through Los Angeles by yourself? I'm like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, I had dinner on the pier. Actually ran into this guy, who was, because they have, ran into this guy who was just kind of down on his luck and obviously kind of bumming around like, can I get something to eat? It's like, yeah, why don't you just have dinner with me? So I had dinner with some random guy on Santa Monica Pier, chatted away. I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't just, tell him why I'm here, but it was fun. And, took the metro train back to the hotel and then rode in, because I had been to LA a couple of times before. So I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to kick back, relax, do whatever. And then the rest of the week, I just went back to tapings.
Yeah, and the other important and like very nice thing that I always like to do when I go to California is like take sunset pictures. So I took a lot of pictures, both on
Nice.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, of course. Like we just went to dinner. Then again on Wednesday when we were driving, we took a lot of seascape pictures. But Sunday and Monday, really good sunsets. So.
Very nice, very nice. Now, Pasha, I thought I heard you mention that you had some issues with the pen during Final Jeopardy.
Yes.
Did you want to talk about that? Because that's something we haven't really talked a lot about in general on Jeopardy Live panel, is the light pen for Final Jeopardy. So if you kind of want to talk about your experiences with that.
The pen and I did not get along at all the entire time. Yeah, I didn't even notice until I watched the show back when it aired, but like my name on the podium is like tiny because I didn't even know, that you should probably take up the whole screen with it. I think my problem was I was trying to just hold it like a pen, and apparently you kind of have to hold it like straight up and down to get it to register all that well. And so everything I tried to do with the pen just completely failed. And one of the the third party observers who come around and take the wagers were like hanging over my shoulder because it took me 3 tries to get my wager legible for Final Jeopardy. And then, of course, when the lights went down and I had to come up with a response, I stood there just staring at the board just blankly for about 10 seconds, like, what is I have nothing. What am I going to guess?
Yeah.
And then when I finally got something in my head that I could write down, I was there scribbling, as fast as I could go, and nothing I did worked. And so I ended up with this like cuneiform on my screen. I was like trying to like scribble it in to make it at least half legible. I almost reached for the Sharpie and the card because I was like, well, at least I'll be that guy who used the pen and paper as an emergency. But then it would still be wrong anyway. So whatever.
But that's an interesting, thought, and I've, I guess maybe you holding it up, so right, right, all the way right up and down is, I guess, the best way to do it. I'd never thought about that before, and
and once it started going bad, it was just this cascade of nerves. It's like, oh my god, I'm not even going to be able to put anything down. I can't even write my wrong answer. So, yeah.
I don't know anything about the pen, so
Aww.
I don't know. They did make me write my name a few times. The first, like when they asked you to write my name, they said don't do cursive because it's like hard to read and all of that. And then I never had to use the pen again afterwards. So.
Yeah. One other funny thing about mentioning the name on the podium, my name Pasha is actually from the Turkish word, and so and it's if I had gone with sort of the traditional spelling, it would have been PA and then S with the little tail under it and then an A. And so I thought, coming into the show, I was like, I wonder what they would say if I just I wrote it on the lectern, and I think it was Glenn who was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. No, don't do that. He was like, the last thing you want when you're on Jeopardy is for Alex Trebek to be confused by your name because he's not going to call it. I was like, good point. I'll just change it now. But, yeah.
So the college online test, if I'm not mistaken, is tomorrow evening at 9:00 p.m. Eastern. So do you guys have any tips you want to pass along for anyone who might be writing tomorrow's test?
Take it. Why not?
Yes, yeah, definitely take it. I've been encouraging a lot of people to take the test, especially when they say it seems really hard to get on it. I mean, and you wouldn't know how hard or how easy. Maybe it's easy for you, right? Unless you try, right? Mm-hmm. So one thing I did figure out after the first couple times of writing the test and wondering whether I got anything right is I don't remember now exactly. I think you get 7 seconds or 10 seconds, 15 seconds for each. So earlier, I used to try to finish the test as quickly as possible, which is totally not necessary. So, so I got in the habit of like having a piece of paper and writing each of my answers in that piece of paper. So I would have all 30 of them or 50 of them. I don't remember what it is in the written. So at least I can look back at them and go, oh, I really did well, or, you know, this is where I messed up, or I thought I did well, whatever. So I think that helps to kind of improve from the first test to the next if you don't get a call back. And I kind of did the same in the test that they gave us in the audition as well. So I kind of, if I didn't know the answer, I was doubtful, then I made a little mark so I could go back to it. It's always good to like have a reference instead of wondering whether you got something right or something wrong. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would definitely say take the test, and as well, similar to what Anupama said, yeah, don't resist the call of that submit button. Take the full 15 seconds, because what does it really matter if you take 12 and a half minutes vice, say 8 or 7? What are you really going to do with that 4 minutes? Whereas that 4 minutes, you might have some more time to puzzle out an answer or change one if it's wrong. So that could be the difference between you going to the next stage or not. So that was definitely good advice that I took on board when I started taking the online test.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. That is the number one piece of advice I can echo. Take the full amount of time. Also, the other thing, it helps you get in a rhythm. As in, you know, read the question, answer the question, or sorry, yeah, read the question, answer the question, relax for a few seconds, repeat the process. And it, you know, that rhythm, it could be the difference between, you know, your brain being able to puzzle out, you know, questions 48 and 49 and not. So
and look at the category too. Use the time to look at the category.
Yes.
So, are there any questions that you guys have for each other, or even me at this point?
Well, I gotta say,
Pasha has not been.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
It was just it was really fun. I think you mentioned that, you know, that after we both had our unfortunate experiences in our games, it was really fun hanging out. You know, we actually had lunch together after my game, and like hung out the rest of that day, and, you know, sat up in the back of the audience, trash talking Austin, you know, fake buzzing in on all the clues. It was a good time, and it was really fun. And you know, I found myself, you know, just like missing like you and all the people from our group, because we really got we actually got kind of close. Like we actually got our group of contestants had a really neat chemistry for that day, and I was just like, hey, that was fun.
Yeah, I remember when we were sitting in the audience, Pasha tried to ask Alex a question.
Yeah.
And Alex was like, "Oh, that's a contestant. No more questions from you, whatever." So that was funny. But to be serious, I think after Pasha lost, I kind of felt better about my loss. You know, I mean, if somebody's so smart couldn't win his game, I had no chance, so I should be happy with my performance. So that was really helpful to me in my, you know, in my healing process, so to speak. So thank you, Pasha.
I'm glad I could be a cathartic experience for you.
So any other questions at this point?
So I want to say, Matt, hope to see you on Jeopardy soon.
Thanks very much. I hope to at least get the call to audition. I haven't even gotten to that stage yet, but I'm hoping the same thing.
Okay, so I'd like to thank the three of you for joining me on the hashtag Jeopardy live panel this week. It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you very much. Also, thanks to the people who tuned in to listen to us talk Jeopardy. And We'll be doing our next episode. Yes, next Monday is a holiday up in Canada, but that will not stop me from doing hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel. We will be on the air on next Monday at 9:05 p.m. Eastern, just like this week, talking a little bit more Jeopardy. So to everyone here at
it's
hashtag...
holiday here too.
That's true, it is.
It is, but it's a little bit of more of an important holiday up in Canada.
True.
Thank you, Andy. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was neat. Good to see you again.
So for everyone here at hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel and the JeopardyFan.com, thank you very much for joining me this Monday evening. We'll see you next Monday evening once again live here on hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel. Have a great night.